Hi, my name is Tana Meyer, and I am with Ocean Network. And today we are excited to be able to talk with Lee Binz of the HomeScholar. Thank you so much for joining us, Lee.
I am so glad to be here. I wish I could be with you in person, but this is the second best thing.
Yep, it sure is. We definitely appreciate it. And we are going to be chatting today specifically about homeschooling and securing scholarships, something I know that lots of homeschoolers are concerned about right now as we're launching into a new school year. And during our encouragement event, Lee's also going to be sharing a session about homeschooling high school. So that will be fantastic. So definitely be looking for those, and we'll give you guys all the links for that. And she's got some great freebies and resources that we'll talk about as well. And you can look for those in the comments too. But today we are going to be talking about specifically scholarships. And I know that this is a huge question right now. So I'm really thankful that you're able to join us and give us some insight. So the first question I wanted to ask was, what types of scholarships can homeschoolers really expect to get? What should they be looking for?
Fantastic question. So, first of all, there are lots of scholarships. I love talking about scholarships. I needed scholarships for myself. I did a lot of research when I was homeschooling high school and implemented. This is the problem. You also have to implement everything you hear, right? Implemented what I heard about. And my kids are normal children, but they both got full tuition scholarships to their first choice university Christian school. And so I really care passionately about scholarships. And so the first thing that I was wanting to tell people is that there are three completely different kinds of scholarships out there. And the first kind is need-based scholarships related to income. But a lot of people feel like they don't qualify, their income is too high. It is a remarkably high number. I think it's like $300,000 a year, anything under that, and you'll still get scholarships. But also, it doesn't usually demonstrate a ton of scholarships. So if you don't qualify, that's really not the main source of scholarships for most people. But the need-based scholarships are a big deal. You do access those by filling out a form called the FAFSA, which you kind of have to think of a 1099 or a W-2. It's like a tax form sort of thing. And it is related to what the government says your income is. And then they use that form and they do a need analysis. And then hilariously, the government tells you how much you can afford. And I always thought that was so funny because the government doesn't know how much they can afford on anything. So how are they going to know what I can afford on anything? And perhaps I run my budget better than they do, right? But so that's the need-based scholarships. You fill that out when your child is senior year of high school to access those scholarships. And it's based on your income level when your child was in 11th grade. So that's need-based scholarships. I will say that for me and my family, it was only, I think it was like $2,000 or $3,000. It didn't mean a lot to us, and we were not high income or low income. We were kind of middle. But okay, the second kind of scholarships that you may hear a lot about is private scholarships. These are given by companies like Boeing or UPS. The private scholarships are not related to your income. It's something that you apply for separately. And when people say, oh, there's thousands of scholarships that go unused, this is usually what they're talking about. It's a company had a scholarship and nobody applied. I was a member of a homeschool organization that gave a scholarship, and I can't remember the exact amount, but we only had 3 applicants. Like there's not very many applicants for some of these. So it can be really helpful if you apply. The problem with those private scholarships is they either just want your email address and they'll promise you $1 million if they draw you like a lottery out of a hat and you're basically selling your email address, or they're expecting some kind of work on behalf of the child, like an essay or a YouTube or a piece of art or a novel or something like that. So you have to do something in order to win the scholarship, but then your child is competing against other children. We did this ourselves. I say we, my children filled out essays for a whole year of high school. All of junior year, their entire writing program was writing for scholarship essays. And we worked very, very hard at it. My children were thrilled to have won a few of them, but it was still only about $2,000 or $3,000 per child after all that work. Which was nice because they won something and I didn't have to buy curriculum for English, so I saved money. But it wasn't the big scholarship that people talk about a lot. And so the third kind of scholarship is the big merit scholarships. When people say I got a full tuition or I got a full ride, that's what they're talking about, the merit scholarships. And those come directly from the colleges. And if there's just the one thing that you remember, that's it. You're trying to make the college love you, so they give you money. This is where you get the big scholarships from. Sometimes it's a pretty direct correlation. If you get this test score, then you get this amount of money. Or if you have this GPA, then you get this amount of money. Other times it's based on more nebulous reasons. It might be because your child is the only oboe player that is applied that year, or they are the football quarterback, or they needed somebody to play the piano for the choir, or something like that. But other times it's just you convincing the college that your child is real and ready and right for that specific college. And there's a lot of things that you can do to set yourself up for a merit-based scholarship. And that is the one that for us paid off $184,000 in scholarships. It really does work. But again, in order to get those scholarships, you have to really take action to make sure that they can actually land them.
So what do you do? How do you actually prepare your children in order to be able to secure those scholarships that they applied for, especially those merit-based ones?
Especially those merit, I don't like that's the merit-based scholarships. Yeah. Well, I am thrifty and cheap by nature, so I like to compare it to couponing, right? People who like to coupon for their groceries, and they pay so little for their groceries. It's because they're actively clipping coupons. And I like to give people a list of what I consider college coupons. And the more often you clip these college coupons, the less college is going to cost you. But it does take effort. It's just like the part of couponing that always stuck me up is that I left them at home, right? And these are things that you have to actually know in advance, plan in advance, organize, and you have to take it with you when you're going, right? So let me explain what the 9 college coupons are so that you can be ready. Many of them you're planning ahead for. The first one is rigorous academic preparation. What that does not mean is everybody has to have, I don't know, calculus or physics. It does not mean that at all. It means that your child is doing the best job that your child can do. And if that means they kicking and screaming got all the way to algebra 2, then that's a good thing, and you're just trying to make sure that they get the best possible education that they have. If you do have a struggling learner, I just want to encourage you that fully 1/3 of college freshmen, this is kids that are smart enough to get into college, 1/3 of kids in freshman year of college are remedial. So if your child is remedial in high school, I don't want you to feel like it's never going to happen to you. It can still happen, and they'll fit right in. And so what it does mean, though, is that you're providing the core classes that you have to have: math, science, English, foreign language, history. And then you're trying to provide electives that are interesting and fun for your child. Homeschoolers call it delight directed learning. It's not just electives to us, it's things that our child does for fun. And those are the things that you can use to make their academics more meaningful to the student and to have a bigger, fuller transcript based on that. So that was number one. Number two is you have to put it on paper. You have to have a professional and accurate transcript. And you make it a professional transcript by being a professional. And may I say that everybody here today listening to my voice is taking a continuing education class, and that makes you a professional home educator. So you are definitely qualified. But the transcript is how they give a quick thumbs up, thumbs down, their child is qualified or not qualified, they have what they need. The third coupon is thorough course descriptions. The reason that you're doing that is that you're trying to convey the rigorous nature of your homeschool. It's not just my mommy gave me a 4.0 GPA, but my transcript says I have a 4.0 GPA, and let me show you my course descriptions that show you how hard that I worked. And again, your child will look wonderful in course descriptions, even if they're remedial. When you list out everything that they did do, the things that they didn't do or couldn't do, that just gets left behind, and they just look fabulous when they have course descriptions. This helps the college to check the academic rigor of your homeschool and to make sure that they're prepared and can function at a college level. The fourth one is the best possible test scores. And you may have heard about test optional colleges, and that is true. Many colleges are now test optional, but not all colleges, not even most colleges. It's only some colleges. And the colleges that are test optional to get into the college. But I dare say that your job is to get them to afford to go to college and hopefully graduate debt free. So it's test optional to get in at these schools, but it's not optional if you want scholarships. It's not optional if you want to go to the honors program and get more scholarships. It may not even be optional for homeschoolers. Sometimes they'll waive it for everybody else, but for homeschoolers, they want to see those test scores. So anything that you can do to provide the best possible test score for your child will help them to get scholarships. There are some colleges across the nation where the average student there has below average test scores. So I don't want you to feel like your child can't compete. You know, there are other kids that have that too. Okay, and then the fifth coupon is to have genuine activities and volunteer works. And genuine is the key. I wish that my children would have been interested in the things that I was interested in when I was in high school, and it was not to be. I worked as a candy striper in a hospital because I wanted to be a nurse, and I had like 3,000 volunteer hours and won awards and got scholarships and everything because that's what I loved. My children had almost this many volunteer hours. It was an embarrassment of how few volunteer hours they had. But they also had real jobs, and that was part of why they only had so much time in their day, you know. So you're looking for activities and volunteer work that are meaningful to the teenager. That's what's going to get it. So if you're the one that is pushing them or forcing them or doing the other, dare I say, tiger mom things, that's not going to get the big scholarships the way the teenager having an interest is going to get a big scholarship. All right, the sixth coupon is to have meaningful college visits. They're meaningful because the college knows you're there. You called in advance. May I come for a visit? They welcome you. Hello, Mrs. Meyer. I'm so glad you have brought your children, you know, and they know you're there. They take you on a tour. You meet with them in person. The other thing that will happen on a visit is you tour the campus. You get to see the dorms. You'll take a class, you'll eat in the cafeteria. These things are really important because in order to give you scholarships, they have to know your child would actually go to that college, fit into that college, stay for all 4 years, and graduate on time. So if you've visited, you've eaten the food, you've toured the campus, you've seen the dorms, you're much more likely for the teenager to actually want to go. As a parent, you're much more likely to say, yes, I will let you go there, you know. And so those college visits are extremely important. And then you take the details from your college visit and you put that into your essay, and that will prove to them that you're really, really interested in that particular college. Okay, the seventh coupon is to make sure that you apply early and often. The timely completion of forms. I tell people you're trying to beat the deadline by at least 1 month or even 2 months. One of the things that I'm seeing that's kind of unusual this year is that when people are visiting colleges, like say during junior year, they go to visit college. What I'm seeing is now that college is wanting them to apply right then and right there and submit their transcript and their course descriptions and everything right there during junior year. And I'll tell you, the parents I know are freaking out because they are not ready for that. But I think in their desire to be test optional, that leaves them less time to evaluate people. And so they would rather evaluate you while you're on the visit and then have you apply then. It just makes their job easier. Okay, number 8 is great letters of recommendation. Those generally will come from those activities and volunteer work that your child does. It may come from an outside class, but not necessarily. It could just come from their job or fun things they do. My family, we homeschooled at home, but we were part of a group in our church. And so I asked one of my friends from church to write a letter of recommendation for my student. And he happened to be a college professor, and he was saying how smart my son was, which was nice. It kind of implied, I suppose, that he had taught my child, but he had never taught my child. He was just a homeschool friend writing a basically character reference for my son. Okay, and then finally, the 9th is to have perfect application essays. And this is really difficult because it is not mom or dad writing the essay, it is the teenager. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but teenagers don't like writing essays. And it has to be technically perfect. It has to be self-reflective. It's a first person, like true, but creative writing story, you know. And that's very stressful for teenagers, and you can't do it for them. So practicing early is really helpful. After your child can write fairly well, I encourage you to at least try to write some essays during 11th grade so that you have some practice under your belt so that you can apply as early as possible. So that is my 9 coupons. I hope I didn't go into too much detail. I didn't want to overwhelm anyone, but I also wanted to make sure that you had the information that you needed.
Oh, it's great. So I have some questions for you.
Okay.
So in that situation, you said that the colleges right now have been asking students to apply on the spot. So does that mean that you would recommend that the parents and their students visit later so that they're ready, or that they try to get ready earlier, or what?
Get ready earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're visiting colleges, the best time to visit is during spring of junior year. And you can do it during spring of 10th grade as well, or fall of 10th grade, but spring of 11th grade is when your teenager will have more of an idea of what they want to do. They won't have the total idea, and don't panic if they don't have the total idea, but at least they'll have a general concept of whether they want to go to college or not. And it's a great opportunity for them to practice their interviewing skills. Even if they don't plan to go to college, they can be interviewing with this college on campus. But Visiting during the spring of junior year is best for scholarships. And if they ask you to apply immediately, it would be helpful if your records were ready to go at that time. And I know that that's super stressful, but just remember that you've done this crazy thing of homeschooling your children, and actually keeping records of what you've done is easier than actually doing the thing. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. In your opinion, so one of the questions we got for you was, do homeschoolers tend to get less scholarship opportunities than public schoolers or private schoolers?
I find that they actually get more scholarship opportunities. And I think the reason for that is, as parents, we're much more motivated to work the process. When a student is going to public school or private school, they are working with the guidance counselor who is responsible for the whole thing. And that guidance counselor may not know that you need scholarships. They may think, oh, they're middle income, I'm not worried about that family, they're going to be fine, you know. And yet to us, maybe we're very aware that we don't want our child to go into any debt, and they don't know that. And with 500 students, say, per guidance counselor, there's no way that they would ever possibly know. So I think it's the engagement of the parent in searching for colleges and getting the scholarships that's making the difference of homeschoolers getting more scholarships. It's the same thing like with education. We're so involved in the education of our children, we don't tend to let things slip, which is why our students are better educated, and test scores bear that out. And in the same way, we're better prepared to get scholarships too, because the parents are more motivated.
Okay, that's great. And then the other question I got for you from a reader was, if a college doesn't ask for course descriptions or says they don't need them, should we submit them anyway?
Boy, am I glad you asked that. So, um, colleges don't want to put anything between you and applying. They want, they are rated more highly if they get tons of applicants and reject lots of them. So they want more and more and more applicants. They also don't want anything standing between you and your money. They want all the money. They want you to apply and get admitted and maybe give you a token scholarship, but they don't want to give you big scholarships. They would rather have you pay full price. So what you're trying to do when you apply is to make such a strong case that your child is qualified for scholarships that they will bend over backwards to give you that scholarship money. So, you know, when you apply to a regular college, maybe they'll say, oh, yes, and here's $8,000, which sounds great, except that if it's still going to cost you $52,000 a year, very few homeschoolers that I know have a spare $52,000 per year per child, right? So by submitting your course descriptions with your application, it will go a long way in securing scholarships. One of the colleges that I interacted with this past year said that the problem is that when they open an application packet from a homeschooler, they don't know what they're going to get. They don't know if the child was unschooled and never got to math, or whether they're super rigorous and did calculus and physics, or where they are in between. You know, was their learning disability compensated for? Did they, you know, have accommodations at home and become successful, or not get accommodations at home and really struggle? So when you're providing these course descriptions, you're showing the gravitas of your homeschool. So all that to say, what I recommend is that you prepare those records as you're going along homeschooling, because the more you put it off, the bigger the job gets, the more overwhelming it gets. The white page is a problem to overcome, you know. So you keep doing that. And then when you apply, you submit your course descriptions when you apply, in the hopes that it will give you an edge in getting scholarships. And I've seen it not just provide scholarships, but also with families that want that one particular college, or they're gearing up for Ivy League, or a very selective school, MIT or whatever. I've seen that these course descriptions make the difference in admission as well as in scholarships.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And before we wrap it up, I wanted to ask you if you were to give, because you give a lot of information, if you were to give 3 top tips
Oh,
for the homeschool mom and dad who are getting ready for scholarship time, what would you say?
oh, okay, good. I'm really glad you asked. The first one is to beat all of the deadlines. Just beat them. Make sure you're the first application that they see. So like I said earlier, I always recommend that you apply a month before the deadline. 2 months before the deadline is fine. If you find out that they're accepting applications in July, try to apply in July. The person reading your application will be more rested, got a full night's sleep. They only have 2 applicants each day, and it's just easier for them to like you on a piece of paper that way than if they have 500 people and they have 2 minutes for each application. So anyway, applying the very first month, say, of senior year is really, really important for most schools, but you're trying to beat that deadline. The second tip is to apply to 4 to 8 colleges. 4 to 8 colleges, and you want to have a mix of both public and private universities. A public university may have a lower sticker price, but you're probably going to pay the sticker price. A private university has a higher sticker price, but you're probably going to pay far, far less than that. On average, for an average student, public and private university really do cost exactly the same. So I don't want you to hesitate to apply to both. But at a private university, there's a greater chance of getting a huge scholarship, and less of a chance at a public university. And then my third tip is again about college choices. It's not just 4 to 8 colleges, but you're trying to choose colleges that are called Reach, Fit, and Safety. A Reach school is one that you're hoping that you're qualified. A Fit college is where your child is exactly on par with all the other students that go there. And a safety school is where your child is going to be the smartest one that they see that year. When your child is the smartest one they're going to see that year, you're more likely to get scholarships. But by having that Reach, Fit, and Safety kinds of colleges, you're more likely to get scholarships overall.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. So if homeschoolers in Oregon, if parents want to get a hold of you or learn more about these topics, where should they go?
Oh, thank you. Well, my website is homehighschoolhelp.com. And if you sign up for any of my freebies, then you can get on my newsletter list. And I always have classes for parents of college-bound kids. There's the class on super scholarships. I'll give you the link and you can share that in the comments later. And that is on super scholarships. And then I also have another freebie on need-based scholarships, and I'll put that in the comments as well. But if you sign up for one of those 2 freebies, then you'll be on my newsletter list. And I always have information and articles and free classes that are geared to help parents get admitted to the college of their choice with great scholarships. And I know that my bias is more college prep than some, but my bias is also scholarships. I really work hard to make sure that parents can get their children into college and afford to go and graduate debt-free. That is my goal for you, and I hope that's your goal as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again for joining us. And everybody, make sure you go check out her resources and watch the session she has coming up.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you. Have a great day.